I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of rugged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons, I love her jeweled sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me, my country, by Dorothea McKellar. July 28th, 2012. Dear Diary, today I arrived in Melbourne after a cumulative 21 hours of flying halfway around the world. It is cold and rainy, which is a bit of a shock coming off of western Massachusetts summer weather. It is nice to finally be here. I have been reluctantly counting down since April when I decided to participate in the NUN program. Whenever I explained to people that I was studying in Australia for my first semester of college, I have barely been able to contain my excitement. Saying goodbye to my friends and family for 4 months was understandably rough, although the fact that I'm coming here of all places inserts an undercurrent of excitement in everything. I do not have any expectations coming into the program because I know too little about Swinburne and even Australia as a whole. I arrive with an open mind, wanting to see and experience as much of everything as my workload will allow. Australia, here I come. August 6th. Classes started today. I can tell I'm going to love chemistry. The instructor is one of those 1 in a million educators where you can't help but enjoy the subject. Even though I've only been here for 1 week, I've settled in very quickly. Cooking has been an adjustment, but a group of us have banded together and worked jointly on dinners. Not gonna lie though, I already miss my mom's cooking. August 19th. Only 2 days until my sister's birthday. I wish I could use Skype as a portal. I've had a great introduction to Australia so far. The program's sponsored activities to familiarize us with each other and the area have been pretty good. I've gone to an Australian rules footy game and did the amazing race around Melbourne. In addition, we went out to Heathsville Animal Sanctuary for our first contact with Australian wildlife. September 2nd. Until recently, I did not realize that it was possible for ears to pop in an elevator. The night trip to the Eureka Skydeck Observation Tower changed that. We also went to the Melbourne Aquarium. Some of the animals there just left me staring. The Great Ocean Road trip was the first time I really got out of the Melbourne area. The 2-lane curvy road winds along a very scenic part of the coast south of Melbourne. We stopped in several little towns along the way and eventually ended up at the 12 Apostles, which are huge stone buttresses looming out of the coastline. September 22nd. Just got back from our spring break trip to New Zealand. Since I live in western Massachusetts, I'm used to doing many more outdoor activities than I have been able to do here in Melbourne. I made up for that deficit over the past week. Our activities range from hiking in torrential rain, to boat tours, to a ropes course, to hot water beaches, to whitewater rafting, all the way to mountain biking. This week ended way too quickly. September 24th. It feels too early to say it, but as of today I have completed all of my individual service learning hours. For 2 consecutive weekends, myself and a group of 12 or so others made the commute out of Melbourne to Warrandyte State Forest. The volunteer group there is conducting a reforestation project as the ecosystem bounces back from near development about a decade ago. Over the 12 hours we were there, we easily planted hundreds of individual grasses, ferns, and shrubs. To reach the required 16 volunteer hours, I then worked at Swinburne. For several Mondays, I went into one of Swinburne's language labs and tutored English to international students. I had many informative conversations as I was both answering questions about my own culture and asking them about theirs. Often I walked out of the classroom feeling like I had just learned more than they had. I enjoyed both these activities for very different reasons. At Warrandyte, I loved being back out in the woods because although I enjoy cities, I am beginning to realize that I will always be drawn back to the countryside. I enjoyed English tutoring for the exact opposite reason. It was completely out of my comfort zone, but I got to talk to people from all over the world that I would not have otherwise. The group project Parkinson's Victoria Walk was a unique experience, and I am looking forward to the upcoming Bupa Bike Around the Bay and Melbourne Cup just as much. October 5th. My time in Australia has absolutely flown by up to this point, and I see no reason for it to slow down. I've started referring to my apartment as home. I now view my room as a haven rather than a cold shrine to my life back in the US, and I've made so many great friendships. That's one cool thing about apartment-style living. You have a little bit of room to develop your own family of sorts. Even now, with a third of the trip remaining, I know that this has been and will be one of the best freshman semesters I could have asked for. Even though at first I wasn't sure if going away for 4 months was up my alley, I now have a hard time imagining my semester any other way. October 7th. Recently, the majority of anyone in Australia went to Phillip Island. Despite questionable weather throughout the first day, I still had a blast coming within inches of wild wallabies, watching sheep be herded and shorn, and failing at cracking a whip. Just as the sun was setting, we went to a peninsula called the Nobbies. After sunset, we went to the beaches, which are home to the island's last penguin colony. Before returning to Swinburne, we stopped at 2 beaches and had probably too much fun messing around in the sand and surf. Being from the Northeast, I had never really seen huge, flat, sweeping sandy beaches with waves breaking several hundred feet out and gently rolling in. So much of what I have done in Australia are things that I have never done before and likely would not have done any other time soon had I not been lucky enough to come down here. Surfing is one more thing added to that list. I swallowed my weight in salt, got tossed around like a rag doll all on a freezing overcast day, but hey, I was surfing, or at least trying to. November 20th. This is strange to say, and however much I may not be ready to admit it, I am days away from returning home. The fact that I was going to live in Australia has had such a heavy influence on my recent life that I am having a hard time imagining my life without Australia. Maybe I will always have a bit of Australia in my blood. It is the sum of every experience that makes this past semester so memorable. I look forward to returning to Northeastern in January to continue my education, create and strengthen friendships, and join both athletic and academic clubs. I've gained a lot from studying abroad, as I now have added points of comparison like the colleges themselves, cities, and cultures. I would call my semester in Australia a unique step in my life, as being placed on the other side of the world has led to so many things I would not have otherwise been exposed to at this stage of my life.